It was the sound of children laughing that finally woke me. My father was deputy supervisor of Bridgwater docks, an important role in a thriving town. We lived in half of one of the grand houses in Castle Street, and I know my mother hoped that one day we would be able to take it over entirely, all ours. There were just the three of us, father, mother, and me. Emelia, aged almost 8 years. At one time I had a baby brother, but he was taken to heaven. I don't really remember him. Then one day, everything changed. There was a commotion at the docks. We could hear it from our home. And then a peeler came to the door. "Mrs. Norton, I'm sorry to have to tell you, there has been an accident at the docks. One of the cranes has collapsed. Several men have been injured, including your husband." Father had been taken across the bridge to the infirmary, and we saw him there, though I don't think he recognised us, shortly before he died. It was so unexpected. But with the help of our neighbours, Mother arranged the funeral as it should be. Hearse, black horses with plumes. Yes, Father had taken out the new funeral insurance. The docks board sent a fine wreath, and the dockers were allowed time off to attend, but unpaid, so very few came. But after that, we had no relatives to assist us. Father, seeking better prospects, had moved to Bridgwater from docks in the east. Ipswich, I think it was called. Mother had left her family in Milverton against their wishes. She had been expected to stay home and care for the younger children and her parents when they became old. But she wanted more from life and took the opportunity when the family came to Bridgwater Fair to obtain a post as a downstairs maid living in. And then she met my father. We had a good life and Mother had many friends. I was particularly fortunate in, besides attending dame school and of course Sunday school, my parents both believed that a girl should have an education, possibly as good as that for a boy. I had home tutors in French and mathematics. I loved doing sums. But without Father, our savings soon ran out, and our friends drifted away. Misfortune might rub off. We had to move. In the end, we had just one room in one of the brickworkers' cottages the other side of the pool. And then we had no money left at all. Mother sought work, but without experience in any of the manufacturings, the only open was casual cleaning, especially the whitening of front doorsteps, using the new bath brick, which our kindly landlord brought home from work to help her. Of course, my schooling had stopped, and I did what I could to help. In the summer, I would make posies from wildflowers and sing and sell them by the marketplace. And when cold autumn came, Mother would make little pies when she could use the kitchen, and I sold them to workers on the docks. But that was not enough. We had sold almost all our furniture. most of our clothes and linens, and still we were wanting for food. And as the weather got colder, warm clothes and boots that didn't leak. And then Mother fell ill. A hacking cough, and sometimes, this was really frightening, spitting blood. There was no other way, only the workhouse. Not the old workhouse at the edge of town, the great new building by North Street, almost challenging the church spire to dominate the town. They took us in immediately. They could see that my mother was scarcely able to stand. She was sent straight to the infirmary. I never saw her again. A few days later, I was told that she had died and been buried in St. Mary's churchyard. I had been taken to the girls' section of the children's wing. My clothes were taken away to be burnt, though they were not flea-ridden or infected, I'm sure. I was washed and given shift, blouse, and skirt of coarse cotton, a pinafore, and lace-up boots that rubbed my ankles sore. Our pinafores were changed every Monday. Our shift or blouse alternate Thursdays. I wasn't there long enough to know whether our skirts were ever washed. Our day started with prayers they rushed and mumbled, not like the prayers and hymns of Sunday school. Then cleaning our dormitory and making the beds. There were 6 beds, but when I arrived, 14 of us. So we all had to share. The older girls in 2s, younger in 3s. Breakfast, a small bowl of gruel, then training. This was mostly sewing, nothing fancy, just mending old clothes so they could be reworn. The older girls helped the women in the laundry, and any of us might be called to help with the washing up or cleaning. I don't know what the boys did, I never saw them. I had been there a short time and there was a buzz of excitement. The inspectors were coming. Everything was to be perfect, clean and orderly. And no complaints. That was made very clear by Matron, who, if we had not known that she was all-powerful, we could have thought somewhat fearful. But some of the older girls told us that if we did well, we could get treats. Usually extra and tasty food. Though there was a story that once the children, boys and girls in 2 separate carts, had been taken to the beach at Burnham, though no one knew if this was true or just a wish. The inspectors came, 3 solemn gentlemen and a lady, serious and grim. They asked, did we know our prayers? Oh yes, we recited the Lord's Prayer, and if there were a few mumbles on some words, they seemed satisfied. Did we have enough to eat? Oh yes, thank you. Were we being trained for useful work? Oh yes, and we all looked forward to becoming good townsfolk. Were we happy? Oh yes, and very grateful. We got all the responses that Matron had drilled into us correct. And our reward? To be taken out into the town for a walk in a line led by Matron, and a small twist of candy. The inspectors moved on, though one gentleman stayed behind for a while. "Oh, very fine-looking girls, matron. Fine girls, a credit to you." He walked around, eyed and prodded two of the older girls. Well, the workhouse gave us enough food and shelter to keep us alive. But that winter was very cold and wet. We were each issued with a shawl, which did little to keep us dry when sent into the yard for exercise. And when we were allowed a fire in the dormitory, it was so small that we scarcely felt any benefit. And we still only had a single blanket on each bed. I caught a cold. It turned to a fever. At first, matron said I was just fussing, get on with my work. But a few days later, I was taken to the infirmary. I remember little of that time. I thought Mother was there talking to me, telling me to be brave, to get better. Life could be good again. And then I fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but there was a disturbance. The earth was shaking around me, as though the whole workhouse was toppling to the ground. It was very confusing. There seemed to be a lot of water, but not a flood. And there were happy, laughing voices. And then more disturbance and collapse, and quiet. I slept on. And then voices again. Voices for children. Boys and girls together, shouting, playing, laughing. Could these be the good times my mother had told me would come? My mind, my spirit had to know. Were these children really as carefree as they sounded? I floated free from my grave, and there was a building I could never have imagined. Glass windows everywhere letting in sunlight, and the walls a brilliant mix of sunset yellow, orange and red. Trees and a grassy field nearby, and a dry flat area that seemed to be just for the children to run about, play ball and have fun. And they did. 100 or more, free to do what they wanted, with just a few friendly adults there, it seemed, just to help them, not order them what to do. I floated nearer to the windows and inside. Bright tables and chairs, pictures and samples of the children's own work on the walls. A lot of strange boxes with dark glass. Mostly just dark glass where you'd expect a picture to be. But a few were true wonders, with swirling patterns of colour, more bright and beautiful even than the eddies of the river when an oil spill was caught in the sunlight. I think it must be a school. But what a school! And every child in Bridgwater seemed to be there. I wanted to join them, have my own chance to complete my schooling. But of course, I'm just an invisible, floating what? But now, awakened to this wonder, I was not prepared to return to sleep in the cold earth. I had not had my full time on earth, and I wanted it now. So here I stay, in and around the school. I am finding it less puzzling now. and even attend some of the lessons. There is still much that I cannot understand, but I found one thing that I can do. Just sometimes I can sense a child is not happy. Trouble at home, falling out with friends. They stop wanting to learn. That is sad. I whisper words of encouragement, and sometimes I think they feel them. I hope I can help them to enjoy what I missed. Now, there is no record of Emelia and her family in Bridgwater, but all the events and details of this story are recorded as having happened to someone here in Bridgwater. Thank you.